Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So we got the little Hobby Plus derived Absima juice up, and this is the Pro or CR18P Pro, and I've got a whole bunch of these little crawlers and a whole bunch of different transmitters, and it's getting really annoying having to carry them around, especially keeping track of batteries and whatnot. So I'm going to try and convert this one to the G11P. And for this, I've got an FS-R4P, tiny little receiver. So it should be a pretty straightforward swap out on this. We've not got anything really complex or anything. But yeah, should be nice to be able to get stuff like Expo and things like that, make it a bit more drivable. And the only thing I don't like about the whole load of these is the amount of slop in the drivetrain. It's awful. But let's see if we can make it a bit more drivable by getting it on a decent transmitter. So I'll bring you in for a close-up look and see how this one goes. So I have been asked a number of times if the stock receivers in a lot of these RCs will bind with the G11P and the other ANT protocol receivers. And to what I can work out, even the ones that basically look identical. So, I mean, that's the Flysky one. That is the Flysky FS-R4P BS. But to what I've been told and to what I can work out, these are AFH DS2 or 2A. And these are ANT protocol that you need for the newer transmitters. So if we just fire up the transmitter. And what you'll know from these, when you turn them on, they basically go into bind mode. Let's get this transmitter so we can actually see what's going off on screen. So for this, if we just go and make sure we're on a model that's clear, so we'll set it to model 2. Number of channels, we've got it set on 4, so that's fine. We can back out of it, we can go to RX set, bind set. So we've got routine, one-way digital servos. So if we power on, we get a fast flashing. If we go to bind, we're not getting anything happen at all. It's still just fast flashing. So it's not trying to bind, and then it goes out of bind mode. And basically, it just won't bind. So, what we can do, if we stop that beeping. So I'm going to unplug our servo, I'm going to unplug our speed controller, and then we're just going to remove the stock receiver. So it should just be stuck in. It's not stuck in really well, but as you see, we've pretty much got the identical case and everything. So it's just a different protocol. Still the same PPX4 water resistance and everything like that. So I'm just going to get some tape to stick our receiver back down, and we should be good to go. So for me, I really do like the 3M tape. It does work really, really well for this. So all I'm going to do is get my tape on. I'm going to lower this into position and stick it down. Then we've got our speed controller in channel 2, a servo into channel 1, and we just plug that in as normal. It don't take any more room up than this receiver. So then we've got that out way. We can add as power back, model select, so we can make sure the one that we want to program selected. I'm going to go into model name, and for this we can delete everything. So we can give it its name for the channel. Make sure you click the tick. There you'll see his name come up at top. Make sure his channel definition is on 4. Radio frequency setup, native RF. And then we can come out of that. So we want to go across to his RX bind. We want to look at his bind set. We want routine, one way, PWM, digital servos, and then start. So we now power up our RC. Should see his receiver flashing fast. Press bind. And then if you leave it for a few seconds, you should be able to click back and back out. You'll see our speed controller is now lit up green, as steering will now work. So first off, we can see his steering's reversed, and if we try his throttle is correct and the right way. So first thing we need to do is fix our reverse of the steering. So we can come in, we can stay on steering top one, we can reverse it. Now we have a steering the correct way. Now all we want to do is check and make sure that our endpoints don't need pulling down. So if we start to accelerate with the RC, so let's find something just to put it on. So we should get nice steady acceleration, and then if you just turn, as long as you can turn full lock and we're not getting any juddering on the steering, then his endpoints will be absolutely fine. And this is one of the rare cases where full travel on the servo is absolutely fine for a steering, so we don't have any issues with that. We've got a lot of other options that we can use now. So if you find the throttle is too jerky, so we can go into basic settings, we can come down and we can go to curve. You've got steering exponential, throttle forward exponential and backwards exponential. So if we go into forward, basically what you can do in here, you can go down to rate and we can turn it up or we can turn it down. So if we start at a bit of an extreme and we turn it on, now what you'll notice is if I turn the controller sideways, we've got a lot more travel before we actually start accelerating. Now don't forget, the more travel it gives you to start with, the less you've got at the end. So this would be a really extreme way of setting it, but what you would find is a little bit of exponential can make it really, really nice to drive. So if we do one curve forward down to 50%, turn the EXP on in reverse, and then do a negative down to 50%. Now what you'll notice with this, the bottom of the throttle to the midpoint will now be quite a little bit more travel. You've still got the same top speed in forward and reverse, but you've got quite a bit of travel in either direction to make your slow crawling really, really controllable. Not really so much of an issue on a crawler, but you can also do the same for the steering. So if you find it really twitchy on the steering, you can come in here, you can turn this on, and then you can go to your rate and you can pull the rate down. So basically it means the first bit of steering doesn't turn your wheels quite as far. As I said, that's more on a race car where you'd find that. If you're struggling to keep it in a straight line, or the first bit of turning on corner you're turning too sharply, it's not really so much of something that you'd need to do on a crawler, but certainly the throttle control can be really, really helpful. Also, we've got the 2 extra channels, so if you want a light control or anything connected, you've got that option. We've also got channel speed. So if we look at the channel speed, it's showing you what it's doing. So if we then add a little bit of a delay, so I'll go to a bit of an extreme, and you can see on the turn out, you can see what it's doing. It's actually delaying the steering. Again, more something that you'd tend to use on race vehicles, but you can do it on throttle and brake. So if you did it on throttle, and we go to a bit of an extreme, but you can see what happens. So if I just hit the throttle, you can see it gives sort of a slow, delayed throttle. So, as I say, it's more useful on RCs that are like real over top quick. If you did want to reduce the amount of steering, so say your drive shafts are catching on both sides, but your steering's right in either direction, we can go into here and you can turn the steering rate down. And as you reduce the steering rate, you'll see you've got less travel, left to right, and it'll do them both equally at the same time. Also, if you want to slow down the max speed, you can turn the throttle down. So if I go full throttle, so if you're letting a younger driver drive the RC, you can still have maximum reverse. Or if you want to slow the reverse down as well, you can go into there, and as you see, you can just slow the maximum down of both throttle and reverse. So it can be useful, especially if you're, say you're running RC on 3S and it's a bit too quick for the track you're on. Between exponential and this, you can back the top ends down. ABS, things like that, you're not really going to use on this. Subtrim can be really handy for trimming the steering. So what you're meant to do, say your steering were a bit off, you come into here, you go on to steering, and you line your steering up absolutely perfect. And then when it's lined up on here, whenever you come out to the main screen, it'll still be zeroed. Whereas if you actually use the trim, so if you use the normal trim to line it up, it then sends your steering out on here, which you don't want. So that's why sub-trim is always the way to get it perfect. So if we just jump back in, go to a sub-trim, and then on here, you just need to line it up till your actual vehicle tracks perfectly straight. It's usually very difficult to get a servo arm lined up so zero is perfectly straight, but what I tend to do is while I'm driving the RC, I'll use trim to get it perfect, and then I'll go in afterwards when I've finished and I'll make a note of where the wheels are and the servo arm. So I'll make a note where is perfect to get the RC going straight, and then if I had to move it across like that, then what I'd do is go in and take that off, but I'd make a note of where the actual servo arm needed to be, and then I'll go into my sub-trim menu, and then I'll move that to make it in the position what it actually needed to be to make the RC perfectly straight. Sometimes it's literally straight down 6 o'clock, and other times weirdly on RCs it's not. You just have to play around with this setting till you get it driving perfect. But just another easy way of setting things up that you don't necessarily have that's that easy on these stock remotes. These do feel a lot nicer to use. You've then got your auxiliary channels, so if you've got lights or anything, you can set them up. I've got plenty of videos showing that. We've got a timer. You've got mixers in case you add rear wheel steer, anything like that. You can easily add that on this transmitter. And it does have other things, like you've got your channel monitor, so you can see what each channel's doing. You've got a test, but don't set it on test unless the RC is up in the air, because what it'll do, it'll move all the channels to their extreme. You can press it straight away and stop it. But yeah, we've got head tracking and all sorts that this is capable of doing. You've got beginner mode, but beginner mode, I don't like the way it limits like the steering, and if you've got a faster RC it limits the brake, so I tend to do it more with dual rates. And then we've got a lot of stuff that we can do on here for the actual transmitter itself. If you use a two-way receiver, so they are slightly more expensive and they're a little bit bigger, but you can get telemetry back. And then you can also assign all different features to the buttons and dials. So for example, if you wanted cruise control, so we can come in and you could say you want K1 to be cruise control. So we can set that to K1. Then that'll allow cruise control to be turned on and off. So cruise closed. So we've got cruise open. Press it again, it'll close it. All you have to do is pull the throttle to any point you want, hit cruise control and it'll stay on. But you may want to adjust that as you're driving. So then you can come in, we can go to assign. We don't want to switch. Let's go for a VR. I think if we go up here, that's K5 is push and VR1. So we can go on here. We can set that to cruise. Then when we back out, we can turn cruise up and down. So you can stop cruise. You can pull the throttle and start your cruise control. And then you can change this up and down. So lots of different options, but yeah, it seems to fit and work quite well on this little Absima. So I think for me that's quite a successful swap. I think the another thing I'd like to do on this, I think I would quite like to get this on some magnetic mounts. So that might be something for me to look at. We do have a little bit of space on here and they're quite low, but I think we could potentially take these off and try and mount some magnets to it. They do screw on, but yeah, it's not totally horrible having the little clips, and it did allow them to get one of the lowest bodies of all this this type of crawler that I've found so far, and that does give it a low center of gravity. You can tell when you're crawling with it, but yeah, tiny little clips, and my old eyes not the best of mixers. But yeah, that's a nice successful conversion for the Absima CR18P Pro Juice Up Edition. It does work with it. It binds to it once you swap the receiver out. And again, I think it's a shame that a lot of manufacturers have gone for these BS versions or brand specific versions of the receivers. I think it would have been really nice to, especially seeing as though Absima do sell the G11P as their own brand. But again, even if you've got that, it will not bind to this stock receiver that they've decided to use. But yeah, I do think that's a shame. But ultimately, it's like less than £15 for one of these receivers. And if you've got a really nice transmitter to use, really £15 is not a lot of money. I think you can even get them on offer as low as like $13 or $9.99. So yeah, that's the conversion and a few features that you can use on the transmitter. So yeah, let's wrap this one up. So there we go, the CR18P Pro converted over to the Flysky G11P using the FS-R4P receiver that's named very similar to the one that comes with it, but without the BS on end. But yeah, it does fit well. You've got a whole lot more features: cruise control, exponential on your throttle, setting sub trims properly. It just gives you a lot more usability from the same RC, and especially if, like me, you've got quite a few of these mini crawlers, it's just nice to have one transmitter that you can just pick up and you can just turn it on, set it to right model memory, and off you go with your RC. Not having to constantly check different batteries, different transmitters, because I don't know, for me, a whole bunch of these come with transmitters that all look very, very similar and don't have any names on them, so remembering which goes with which, yeah, I just prefer to have something like this to control them all off. And as I say, the added bonus of exponential, cruise control, things like that you can do really simply on this transmitter, it all comes into it as you start crawling more with them. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.